Skinner on Absolute Radio. Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner, and I'm with Emily, and I'm with Gareth.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Frank. Hi, Gareth.
Hello.
You're right, Gareth?
Yes.
Have you had an aneurysm? Oh, okay. So, I'm just having a scratch. I don't know if you can hear that on air. It's not my first difficult moment of the week, I'll be quite honest with you.
Why? What's happened?
Well, I was in Brighton. I don't know if you know Brighton. It's South Coast, seaside town.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm worried now that the producer's changing buttons. Was like, could no one hear any of that at all?
Emily sounded a little bit distant.
Yeah, I liked it.
Well, that's not the first time.
No,
Well,
exactly.
Usually I sound distant.
The producer has got hot pants on today, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think we'll have to sack him. So I was in Brighton, and I was going to buy my girlfriend a maxi dress. Everyone's getting them now, and we entered into the big debate, which I read about in this month's In Style magazine. Is it maxi print or maxi plain?
Oh, Frank!
But I thought let her choose. So she was in the cubicle. I'm calling it the cubicle.
Oh, yeah.
Some call it a booth. Some a changing room. And she did that thing of sit closer because I want to come out and show you the dresses. But you don't. There's a distance at which you can go to it.
You don't go into the actual cubicle.
You can't go into. Well, you can't go into the cubicle. No.
Oh, I often bring them in.
Oh no, I'm sure you do. But yeah, it wasn't a meter. But so you don't want to get too close in case you look like a bloke whose girlfriend isn't in there at all. It's just a bloke who's open to see through that crack in the curtains. A bit of underwear.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So I just stood there, and there's a lot of people in the shop, and they were listening to they had Radio 1 on. I don't know if you've heard of Radio 1. It's still going, apparently. And the DJ, who obviously I didn't recognise, someone found him. They said, "Oh, could you play a song for me?" And he said, "Yeah. What would you like?" And he said, "I'd like the original Three Lions, please."
Oh.
Yeah. And I thought
You must have been happy.
Well, I thought, I was in a shop though. Standing there, and then the DJ said, "Oh, do you know what the new version?" And he said, "Well, no, it's a bit rubbish, isn't it?" So suddenly, not only did I got a bad review, sort of, through the back door, but it was I felt like my charges were being read out in court. So I'm standing there, and then it was a bit like being Josh DeBovie.
I don't know who that is.
He was our entry in the Eurovision Song Contest. So it's like public humiliation by music. And I had to stand there then while they played the song, which is a kind of some bloke came up to me and said, "Well, you'll be able to play 2 dresses now. Or you better buy her 2 dresses now."
What was he doing in the dress shop, filthy pervert?
Yeah, and he was in the booth with my girlfriend. He never fully explained that, actually. He had a tape measure around his neck, and I suppose he thought that made it all right. But
Trying to see a crack through the curtains.
yeah, so I think that it's this view that people think, oh, if it's playing on Radio 1, you probably get about 60 quid. So that would buy her an extra, but it was a public humiliation.
Oh, Frank.
It was.
But never mind that. How was the dress?
Well, she didn't. She came out in 3 dresses, all of which she looked great.
3 dresses? Why 3?
Well, she came out in 3 separate,
okay.
not at the same time. It wasn't a shoplifting.
She wasn't carrying the 3 Lions theme too far.
No. So then she looked great in all of them.
Well, she's got a lovely figure.
Yes, and then she went back in and said, "No, I'm not buying any of them." Or, you're not buying any of them.
Oh.
And we left, so I felt a bit disappointed. And then, when I got back from Brighton, Kath was looks me up on Twitter occasionally. I wish she wouldn't do that, but she doesn't. I've written this down.
Why doesn't she just go into the front room and see you?
Yeah, exactly.
Much easier, much swifter.
She obviously wants to know where I am on a regular basis. So this was the Twitter. Saw Frank Skinner, this is in town, meaning Brighton.
Yeah.
Saw Frank Skinner in town yesterday. I know I like younger men, but his girlfriend was so young, even I was a little shocked.
Well, I'm delighted for Kathy. That's an
Kathy
awesome
was
review.
absolutely thrilled. She sent me this with in an email called "I'm so happy." She might be happy, but what about me? Anyone who reads that, I think, I thought he's disgusting, right? I mean,
You're not that disgusting.
no, that's what I think. I think as disgusting goes, I don't register compared to some people. But yes. Anyway, she'll love me for saying this, but she's 39. So get over it.
Oh.
Absolute Radio.
Frank, do you remember last week we were talking about Robert Mugabe's
Never ask a
Filtrum?
man of my age if he remembers last week. You're just going into an awkward area. Yes, Robert Mugabe's Filtrum.
That was it, yeah.
It's the bit, it's the sort of that U that's underneath the
Some
the
have more
septum.
defined than others. Mine's very defined. It's between the nostrils and the lip.
Yes.
Okay.
I used to see it as a sort of a drain pipe when I was at school.
Yeah.
We used to talk about kids with a number 11 on the top lip.
Did you?
Yeah, those were the free school dinners, kids. They always had the number 11.
Oh, those halcyon days.
Yes.
So, Gary Walker has texted in and said, it struck me, this is in relation to Robert Mugabe's Filtrum, that despite being a perfect band name, this musically would scan in place of Bananarama's lyric, Robert De Niro's Waiting.
So it would go, Robert Mugabe's Filtrum. Obviously not talking Italian. What would Robert... It's separating his moustache. Actually, it doesn't separate. It cradles it, really. He has a very thin central move. So it'd be Robert Mugabe's Filtrum. Cradles his moustache. Cradles his moustache.
I like the backing singers rolling
Oh,
there.
I think you have to bring in, even when Siobhan left, the very attractive
those were
one,
dark days.
and she was replaced by
Jackie.
Laurence Olivier as Richard III. That's exactly who she looked like.
I don't know what that song is either. I don't know. I'm not getting any of the
okay.
references.
Oh, I hate it when people say that. Oh, I don't know that I wasn't born.
So it'd be like,
Come on.
ain't what you do, it's the way that you do it. Now is the winter of our discontent, made glorious summer by this. Ain't what you do, it's the way that you do it. Now are our brows bound with victorious wreath. Jackie, you're spoiling it. Yes.
I like Dictator's Body Parts, though. Now that's what I call Dictator's Body Parts.
Yeah, that
Great compilation.
It would be a good
We could have all sorts on there.
Yeah. I can't think of another one that's clean, though.
We could have Adolf Hitler's colon. I don't know if that's clean.
To the tune of what?
Really saying something. Adolf Hitler's colon. Hitler's colon.
Bob, Bob, shooby-doo-wah.
It works.
Bob, Mugabe. They could be called Zibwamarama
Oh, I like it.
and feature mainly Mugabe-based stuff.
I don't know if he'd allow it, though. Apparently he's quite controlling. That's what I've heard.
I've heard that. Yeah, that surprised me. So I thought he looks fairly laid back.
The only Bananarama song I know is Guilty, the Guilty one, which also works for Robert Mugabe.
Well,
Yeah, but he has to sing that, doesn't he? Guilty as a man can be.
I'm not sure he's guilty of love in the first degree. I think it might be other unspecified
You could
crimes.
put other words in. I think you just have like a line that could be filled in.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't remember what he's done, Robert Mugabe. It's probably all a great... I mean, he might be a great bloke who's just been,
He's done something, I'll Google it.
Yeah, Google Robert Mugabe. We'll have something we can put in where guilty. We'll have guilty, but instead of love. He's probably done some loving in his time, I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you what I was very saddened by this week. This is the clue.
Oh, God. How depressing.
I'll go to bed, I think.
Surely it's faster than this.
No, this is as fast as it gets.
This is as good as it
Needs a
gets.
beat.
Yeah.
How depressing. Oh.
Last
Yes.
of the summer wine.
Well, anyway, the last of the summer wine has been quaffed.
Who knew?
Yeah, so it's being pulled. Last of the summer wine.
Oh, I used to really like that.
What, last of the summer wine? So
Yeah.
did I. First thing in the morning, sometimes. Yes.
But why was that news? What was it like, the news in 1973? And decimalisation has been introduced.
Hold that thought, will you?
Oh, yeah, listeners, hold that last of the summer wine thought.
What will they say about it? Who knows?
Where are old actors going to go to die now? There'll have to be some designated area. I don't like the sound of that.
Absolute Radio.
So, yeah,
Anyway,
do
more
text
onto
us.
that glamour subject of last of the summer wine.
Exactly. I liked Garrett's idea that it could, if you gave it a beat, it would beef it up a bit.
That's a good idea.
Can you handle that, Gareth?
Okay,
Let's give it a try.
Let's break it down.
Here we go.
more.
I think that's Compo building a shed in the background.
Bathtub coming downhill. No.
Yeah. No, it didn't work as it turns
No, it
out.
was
But it's always worth trying.
Could have worked.
Yeah, it's,
Saturday morning.
just bring up your greatest moment,
Yeah.
just to bring
Yeah.
the confidence back up. No,
You know what I thought was really offensive is when they were discussing the fact that the show is being cancelled, they had as the headline in the Sun, Clegg over, meaning it would be the end of the road for the character, which I thought was horrible for that poor old distinguished actor.
Peter Sallis.
Clegg over.
I think it'd be more horrible for any Liberal Democrat who picked the papal. Oh no, not him as well. Yeah, it's. I can't say. I'll be honest with you. I read it. It was a big, sensational headline that they were pulling, and I thought, is that still on?
I know.
I thought it had gone about 6 or 7 years ago. It's like I read there was an Eddie Large interview, and it said in the paper. It said Eddie Large said this week to the TV Times, and I thought, is that still going? So I need to get up to date. People have really got it that these things are disappearing, and I'm all.
We don't even know they're still on.
I've had 7 years to get used to the idea that Last of the Summer Wine isn't on anymore.
That music's so depressing, though. Oh, it's worse than my other ones that I hate. You know, when a theme music comes on and you just think, I have to just turn the telly off.
Yeah.
You remember that Mr. Ben when you were a kid? Oh, that used to make me cry. I hated
It didn't go
that.
like that, did it?
Yeah, that was Mr. Ben. Don't you remember that?
No, I don't remember that.
No, nothing.
The one that used to get on my nerves was the Two Ronnies theme.
How did that go?
Well, exactly. How did it go? No, but it used to go. You used to get in your own time.
Oh yes, I do remember that now.
Never started that theme. And the one I did Parkinson. I was interviewed on Parkinson, and he shouted at me.
Parkinson did?
Yeah, because
why?
Sir Stephen Redgrave was sitting next to me, and Parkinson asked me a question.
Is that the rower man?
Yeah, the rower man.
Okay.
And I said to Stephen Redgrave, I said, well, this must be like this for you, Steve, when you... And Parkinson said, are you doing the interview or talking to him?
Oh, we got threatened.
And I went... and put a curse on him, and as I've said before, he's now advertising death on daytime television.
Happens to us all.
As if giving people a free pen makes it all right. So, so after that, you know, he's... Oh, I'm
loving it.
Well, after that, I used to watch it. I always used to go... in hatred.
In a scathing way.
And I felt that some way got my own back.
My worst theme tune was the Birds of a Feather theme tune.
Oh, that's depressing.
Remember that?
Too many
I'm
mind...
alone
Oh, yeah.
with only dreams.
It was so wrong for a comedy.
You hated it, but you listened to it enough times to learn the words.
Yeah, I watched it quite a lot.
But you know what I said? No minor keys for comedy. That's the rule.
That's an interesting rule that I'm going to write down.
I think it's to lower the bar of comedy before the comedy starts. Do something really sad at the start.
God, I
and
wish
then everything seems
I'd
funny.
thought of that this morning.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
Fabulous. That's Jane's Addiction with Being Caught Stealing. You ever been caught stealing?
Oh, many a time.
You know, I read there's a theory that the first thing you ever steal reflects the job that you end up doing.
What do you mean?
That's what if you look
What, if
back...
you're a thief? Professional thief?
What did you...
If, for example, you steal an album, that's the first thing you steal, it's liable you'll somehow end up in the entertainment industry.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Did you steal Limelight?
Oh, I like
It's
it.
quite good.
Yeah.
It's quite good.
What is that? A gay novel? Is that what you're saying? Oh, look, I am what I am.
Because I would have stolen... I remember stealing an eyeliner and a...
Oh, well, there you go. And now
Yeah.
you work for InStar magazine.
Yeah, there you go. And a cream egg. I'm not sure where that comes into it.
Well,
To be discussed.
Well, you're soft on the inside
Oh.
and very brown on the outside. You just got back from Mauritius, but you know what I mean.
A bit sticky.
Yeah,
You ruined it, didn't
Yeah.
you?
Sorry.
Frank had a nice tribute.
yes. What did you steal
Covered in
first?
foil. I don't know. I haven't
you ever
done a lot
stolen
of
anything?
stealing. Probably the closest I got to stealing was, like, you know, if there was stuff like chicken from the fridge.
Oh, live a little, why don't
A bit
you?
of chicken in the fridge.
Yeah, so that... Well, what
Chicken
does that
carcass.
say about what your current job is now? Like some slightly chilled, dead meat. That's what's turned out there. Anyway, so... that's the phone in this morning. No, it isn't.
What was the first
but if
thing
you do want to
stole?
text us on anything, we're on 8, 12, 15. I'd quite like to know what theme tunes people hate on telly.
Well, we've just had a text in, and it's not hatred. It's kind of love, really.
Oh, okay.
It's. Do you remember the theme to Tales of the Unexpected? I used to get up to dance to it.
Can you do the dance, please, Em? You have to be naked. Gareth, can you represent flames? No, you need to dance behind Gareth while he's flames.
While he's flames.
Oh, I
Some
mean,
terrible school play.
You people, you just don't want to join in, and that's your trouble. Yeah, it was a good one.
There was
that.
a boy at school who lied and said that was his mum, and I believed him. It was quite a weird job for her to have done. But I thought,
Well, his mum was Joan of Arc. Could have been her. Yeah, it was, but it was a classic. It's an all-time
Yeah.
classic. Yeah.
that was a great show.
I used to like more Mindy. Anyway, the people don't want to hear this. It's a music
No.
station. They expect it to be recorded in some way, not people just doing it with their mouth. That's what people have got expectations.
But we do want to hear what shows people miss, though, don't we?
Yeah, well, now that Last of the Summer Wine's gone, I'd like to
Yeah.
know what you miss off telly.
Yeah, I missed Challenge Annika. Do you remember Challenge
Yeah, I
Annika?
do, yeah.
That was good.
What did you
And
have
when
to-
have we needed Annika Rice more than now?
Yeah, but Challenge Annika couldn't be, like, get rid of the national debt. It had to be things
Yeah.
Why not?
Well, okay. Well, I'll phone her.
Everyone
you know.
could chip in.
I'll phone her, but it's a tall order, let's face it.
I used to like... Do you remember a programme? It was a sitcom called Never the Twain.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's
Windsor Davis.
Oh, yes! And Donald Sinden.
And Donald
It was-
Sinden.
It
I
was
didn't
two
do that.
old
Was
antique
it about
dealers.
Mark Twain never being in it?
No, they were living next door to each other, and the premise was the same, wasn't it, Frank? Every week, there were two antique dealers that would try to outwit each other, and the cleaning lady would say, "Oh, that old vase, I gave that to the jumble," and that was the denouement every week, and it would be like a really expensive vase.
I'll tell you what I really miss on telly. Me!
Saturday morning!
Anyway, it's Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily, with Gareth. What are we talking about? Theme tunes people hate? Is it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, theme tunes people hate.
Vince has texted in, I hate the Black Beauty theme tune, it made me feel sick to hear it.
It made me feel sick to it. Is this the bloke who wrote my intro to the news earlier?
How did it go?
Oh,
that was sad. Again,
hold on, I'm
mine-
waiting for the big bit.
Oh,
Here it comes. Yeah, that bit. I
That's
like.
like dog barking.
Yeah, Stacey Dawning was in that. If you
Oh,
remember,
very good, I do.
remember her getting. She was out on the rain in the rain on. Oh, she's always on the rain with Black
Yeah.
Beauty. You had to keep it. Otherwise, he was raring to go.
Oh, yeah.
But she got soaking wet. And I remember as a young man thinking how beautiful she looked, drenched in the rain.
Oh.
What happened to Stacey Dawning though?
Well, I don't know.
I used to, as a young man, I look at her fabulous big blue eyes, and looking back now, so certainly thyroid trouble. At
Frank,
the time, it seemed
you don't know that.
she just seemed wide-eyed and excited. Yes. Next.
We've also had we actually had a comment. There's someone saying there's just something about the theme tune to Day of the Triffids. Love it with its old-fashioned stylings. That's Mitch from London.
Yes, it means, of course, the edition that you were in, and I think they used
Yeah.
the word old-fashioned. Suggest when that might have been. Yes.
We also had a comment in. Do you remember you were playing a track earlier and there was a dog on it barking?
What, Being Caught Stealing by James
Yeah.
Addiction, yes.
We've had a text in saying, thanks for the dog barking intro, Frank. I'm driving back from a night shift as a dog handler with two now barking and howling security dogs, and I'm getting some very strange looks.
Well, it wasn't my intro, that is on the track.
Is that that
James
wasn't you
Addiction put it
barking?
there. I love the idea that the dogs are going absolutely crazy. Let's see if we're... Crying dog, barking dog beginning to bark. Barking dog, a dog sleeping.
That sounds like many men I've been involved with.
Hold on, dog breaking wind.
That is disgusting.
I'm sorry, it's all-
that makes me feel physically sick. is it?
I had to use the full
Oh my
set.
God,
It's all right. There's no
ew.
odour comes with it. It's not. I'm
There
not,
may as
I'm
well
not
have been.
I'm not a method actor.
And Dog Sounds from Frank Skinner will be out on CD very soon.
Yeah,
in all
I'm
the
looking
high street
forward to
shops.
it.
Cy Cannon from PGR Merchant Hill, Surrey says shows
What?
What was it?
What was that?
I
That kind of from PG on my Merchant Hill.
thought you were clearing your throat.
He knows where he's from.
Who does?
Who? We don't know who he is. Say the
Cy
name.
Cannon.
Side cannon.
Cy-
We've got armaments now texting us.
Okay, side cannon.
Yeah, we've got
Side.
ACAC guy that's called
short,
in
I guess,
from Aldershot.
short for Simon. Simon,
Okay.
Simon
Side cannon from where?
at PGL Merchants Hill, Surrey.
Okay,
Are you
thank
giving his
you.
entire address?
Thank you for enunciating.
think
Yeah,
his
anyone who
parents
wants to
get
write
lost.
to Cy Cannon, there you go. Cy Cannon would be great. You light the fuse and it goes,
Like my jokes. Shows that I
don't put
miss.
yourself down. I think you'll find that's my job.
Shows that I miss from TV: Magnum PI, The A-Team, and Baywatch.
Aren't they all still on?
Yeah.
And what he needs to get is satellite. What I miss his clothes down. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah, I loved a bit of close down.
At the end of the night, it's incredible now, but about 10 to 12, that's someone to say, well, that's it from
Yeah.
television
What?
for today. Yeah. And
you
then
know
it was
What was on after that?
the national anthem, and then,
Yeah.
then it went black.
Then you were alone with your thoughts.
Went black.
Yeah, there was no
Yeah.
telly in the
After
night.
10 o'clock at night.
No, not 10, about 10 to 12, I think.
Yeah, about
10
12
o'clock at
o'clock,
night,
that was
would have been
it.
ridiculous.
Yeah. It just went doo.
I look
and you
forward
turned
to it
on.
now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It never happens. I think it was great.
No, TV doesn't say, right, you've had enough now.
No, it doesn't. It says you've never had enough. We're never going away. We're here all night, even though you're asleep. I want it to nag at you that you're missing us. That's what it says now.
Absolute.
Radio.
I am. I did a gig this week supporting Jenny Clare in Salisbury as part of Salisbury International Arts Festival.
Okay.
Very exciting.
Next.
Um,
Oh, sorry. I thought you were just reading from your journal.
and I asked something weird happened. I asked the audience what else was happening at the Arts Festival to sort of see what we had to compete with. And they said one of the exhibitions that was happening was that in Salisbury Cathedral, they had piles of ice,
Ice.
of rice, representing different statistics.
You're just going to keep adding letters to this?
No.
Okay.
Rice. Piles of rice representing different statistics. So there was a pile of rice to represent the amount of people
Rice.
in Wiltshire.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
And,
a grain for every
A
citizen.
grain for every person, yeah.
Yeah.
And then a pile of rice for all the Nokia phones in France, something like that.
Oh, random statistics.
Yeah. Very odd statistics. And so I made some jokes about it, like, oh, you should go in with a kettle and freak them out. And someone cheered, and I said, oh, is that Uncle Ben? It was funny at the time.
Oh, I like the Uncle Ben. The
Yeah.
first one I think needs a
Uncle
bit of
Ben.
work.
Okay. Well, it was off the cuff, you know, I'm not going to do it again.
Well,
We weren't
no.
asking you to.
Who knows? That is actually a travelling exhibition. I think you should tour alongside it with your rice material.
Yeah.
So, what did your punters say?
Well, then I said, oh, I think it's a bit of a waste of rice if you ask me. And then, you know, that was the end, and I did it. And then after the show, a PR person for Salisbury International Arts Festival rushed back and said, "You've got to, Jenny, when you go out, you've got to say that the rice
is
is
that
being
your stage name?
recycled." Jenny Clare, I told Jenny
Oh,
Clare.
yeah,
do you not
okay,
know
yeah,
that?
sorry. I forgot that piece of information. Yeah.
She
Oh,
said,
really?
and it caused a bit. It was controversial.
The rice has been
in Salisbury.
recycled.
Yeah, they're
That sounds absolutely disgusting.
well, they're going to
What a job
recycle
that
the rice.
was.
I bet
Yeah.
Jenny Clare liked talking about it then.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, so you were reprimanded, really?
Yeah, it's controversial in Salisbury.
Well,
Wow.
I don't know about you, but
Raymond Blanc?
I'm loving that. This is my favourite theme tune.
I like that Gareth's anecdote today ended, I was reprimanded in Salisbury. It's always
I've got
the
a sore
punchline.
throat today. I've got a very sore throat.
By the way, I've been reprimanded, haven't I?
Why? Who
Well, I
by?
told that story about Michael Parkinson. Which
Oh,
is
yeah,
a
they
story
told you off.
I have told before about
Yeah.
when I was on with Steve Redgrave.
Yeah,
Apparently, I wasn't on with Steve Redgrave. I now find out.
yeah. Gareth?
You were with Matthew Pinson.
Is that right? I'm amazed.
Yeah.
Someone texted in
I've,
to say that.
Looked online and stuff, and on all the lists it says, yeah.
I
It was
someone-
actually Anne
Matthew
from
Pinson.
Kidderminster who's pointed this out, Frank.
Thank you for rescuing that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, Anne from Kidderminster.
Yeah.
So it's it wasn't Steve. I'm sure I called him Steve on the night.
You've been thinking all along.
I always thought it was Steve Redgate. It was Matthew.
But do you know what, Frank?
Matthew Mincent it was.
we be
thanks,
honest?
Anne, for sticking your oar in.
Oh, very good.
Well, Matthew Pinson's got an anecdote about how David Baddiel had a go at him on Parkinson one time.
Well, I'm all right with that, yeah. And then there's the time that Russell Harty told me off when I was being interviewed by Tessa Sanderson. Well, the whole thing's gone so wrong. I thought I'd do an then. You know, sometimes you do an and you don't have anything to follow it with. Yeah, it's something one sees a lot on local TV coverage. When they say, that was Matthew Pinsent there with...
Absolute.
Radio.
Anyway, this is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily and Gareth. And,
Frank-
hey, it's Saturday morning here on Absolute Radio.
We've had a text in, Frank.
That's great news. What, on 8, 12, 15?
Well, exactly, the very same. And do you remember you read a Wordsworth poem out before the news?
Uh-huh.
And,
Did he read it, though?
well,
I didn't read it, but...
this is what the text concerns. Richard Cronin. I'm working with the radio on. I and a colleague, I think it's myself and a colleague, but we'll let that pass, have just heard your recital of a Wordsworth poem. Please can you settle an argument that could affect our working relationship? My colleague thinks you recited the poem off by heart, but I think you read it off Wikipoem, if such a website exists. Please settle the argument. The tension is unbearable.
Well, that's interesting, because first of all, I didn't know there was such a thing as Wikipoem, which I very much like the sound
Yeah.
of. It's just a load of poems. Well, brilliant. I actually, no, it's... I did it off by heart.
We can back him up on that, can't we, Gareth?
Yes.
When I say off by heart, I don't mean off by Tony Hart, who used to work on, the gallery and those art programmes. They used this as a theme tune, I remember rightly. He always used to wear one of those Apache scarves with a metal ring on it. God bless him. No longer with us, Tony.
Can I just say, Frank does have quite a wealth of poetry rolling around
but
in that brain of his.
let's not push our luck here on Absolute Radio.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, I think I got
Isn't
in
it
a bit of
poetry
Richard
hour?
III earlier as well. It was in the context of banana armour, but nevertheless, that's enough. So, have you moved home yet, Em?
Well, I've got a bit of a problem, guys, which is it's been on the market, much like myself, for quite some time.
Yeah, and there's
much
been
like-
several prospective buyers. A lot of people got in to have a look round.
Yeah.
All pulled out at the last minute.
And much like myself, should we pretend that wasn't so? And much like myself, it just won't shift. So I've had some people round, and what I'm actually considering taking it off the market because I cannot bear the stress of tidying every time these creatures come round. Apparently, it has to be tidy all the time, otherwise they won't like it.
Yeah, ridiculous that people think, oh, I'm not buying this flat, it's a bit untidy.
It's like, oh, there's a pair
you're
of ti-
staying with it.
Yeah, like there's a pair of tights on the radiator. Oh, disgusting. We're leaving. Good day.
Exactly. I don't care that it's a beautiful house.
I know. Well, actually, although the other day...
Are they smoky grey bear brands?
I
Do you
did-
go for a hipster top or one of those that pull right up to just under the brassiere with the big line up the front? I'm not keen on that.
My tights are my business.
Okay.
So the other day, I was so stressed out because I was at work and I couldn't concentrate because I realised, oh my God, people have come round to see the plays. And I realised there was a lot of self-help books left out, and I normally tidy them away when
yeah.
company are arriving, including He's Just Not That Into You, and Men Who Hate Women and the Women Who Love Them. And there was an empty bottle of rosé. How embarrassing.
Oh dear, self-help books.
Oh, the empty bottle of rosé. It doesn't get much worse than
I'm
that.
going to get drunk and sort myself out.
The whole lot.
So,
Yeah, that's what I call self-help drinking.
so I just felt so terrible. I thought, I don't want those. They're going to come into my flat and just think, I can't ever live here.
You know
If
what-
this is the lifestyle you get in these premises, I
Yeah,
don't want
exactly.
it.
This is what they're driven to. No, I've never done that. I'd hate people coming around and looking
horrible.
at my house. I just abandon them.
What, the places you live
Yeah,
in?
I just leave them. There's loads of them all over the country. I just don't want people coming in looking at my house at all.
I'd rather live in my own squalor than have to put on a show like this. I'm sick of living a lie. I'm pretending to be Nigella Lawson, and I'm a bit more Amy Winehouse.
Well,
frankly, I won't lie.
when people show you around as well, they do this thing. This bloke, remember this fat bloke showed me around the flat in Birmingham. And
that sounds nice.
He went up to the light switch and he went, right, so you see down there and the light comes on and back up there and the light goes off again. I thought, yes, this flat would be new to me, but not living in a house. Or do you think I normally live in a bag somewhere? I bought it as well. What with the lights working and everything. Andy Nyman will be up in a minute. When I say he'll be up, he's up, he's here.
His son's here, and apparently he's 10 years old and a stand-up comedian.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I don't know if he's...
Gareth, I don't know how to
10 years
break
old.
this to you.
What?
You've been replaced.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio. Absolute Radio.
Andy Nyman is in the house.
Hooray.
That's what young people say, I think, for these things. Andy, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
Let's get straight into this show because I am so intrigued, right?
Yes.
Because it's called Ghost Stories.
Yeah.
And it's a theatre show.
Yes, it is.
But it actually comes with a proper serious warning.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now, it's just, I think people just don't, they expect to be frightened by films, but
Yeah.
not in the theatre.
That's the joy of it, though, Frank, is that the warning, on the one hand, of course, is like, it's like a great challenge, I suppose. Because you're saying to people, come on, the people of a certain age, if you're nervous, stay away. And so that people are thinking, oh, come on, it's not scary.
Yeah.
And I think, you've seen the show, haven't you?
I went to see it. And when it said people of a certain age, that did put me off a bit. I was worried I wouldn't
Yeah, well,
believe
then
it.
I got frightened.
Yeah.
Yes, it's above 15, is
Yeah.
what we recommend.
Yeah.
But it is one of the most terrifying experiences I've ever had.
And that's saying something.
Yeah, let's not go down that road.
No, I remember.
You know that to be
I
true.
remember you saying that you'd seen a
Yeah.
theatre show, and I only just put these two together.
Yeah.
I was absolutely terrified, and I was with my godson who's about 15, and I was I was actually screaming
Yeah,
out
people
loud.
do.
People
truly...
scream.
I
in there.
screamed,
Lots
Frank.
of screams.
Yeah.
It's a great...
There's a lot of screamers in the theatre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's one of the joys of doing the show is that you go out every night and know you're going to hear big laughs. It's funny as well. So you hear big laughs and huge screams from an audience, and it's
Wow.
it's quite...
It's like being the Beatles.
It is exhilarating.
But you can't
yeah.
really talk about it because that will spoil it.
Yeah, it
in
really
some way.
will. And
That's slightly spoiled the interview, I think.
believe me, I'm a very adept at talking around it.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
But again, that's one of the lovely things is that we sort of implore people not to talk about the plot itself, and even the critics didn't. They were very good at just sort of skirting around the edge of it and saying what they liked about it, and even if you go online and look it up, you can't really find out what it's about. It becomes this sort of, oh no, just go see
it's
it.
an enigma.
It's lovely. It's a really nice thing.
No, I read the press handout for it. There's one thing that worried me. It said that it said even the most hardened of viewers gasping for breath and reaching for their coats. And I thought, you don't want to write that. I've done gigs where they've been reaching for their coats.
Yeah, and gasping for breath.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it was yawning.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're reaching for their coats to hide behind. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
You'll see if you go on YouTube or go to, I think it's ghoststoriestheshow.com or .co.uk. There's a trailer on there, and it doesn't spoil anything.
No.
And if you put Ghost Stories West End into YouTube, there's a new trailer, and you'll see there's night vision of the audiences, hiding and screaming,
Like
and
the Big
jumping.
Brother bedroom.
Sort of, except scarier.
Yeah, okay.
If that's possible.
That is saying
That
something.
is saying something, isn't it?
We're thoroughly intrigued now.
Absolute
Radio.
Andy Nyman's with us this morning. I must say, Andy, we don't normally get texts for the guests sort of thing, but there's been a flurry.
There have. All about ghost stories, I have to
Hooray.
say. We have Angie saying, I've seen ghost stories in London. It scared the pants off me and my cousin.
I remember.
Well, I-
Pantless Angie, we called her.
Yeah, did you? I hope they've been replaced before she sent this text.
I stopped laughing there when I had to travel home alone on the Underground. The show reminded me of elements of Tales of the Unexpected.
That's what you need.
Yeah.
Theme tune.
I've had another text in saying, I saw ghost stories with my drama class and I've never been scared by a film before, but this show terrified me. My fear was made worse as I was sitting in seat number 13. Oh, we know what that means, Andy. They don't, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that night I woke up at 3:45 in the morning. Oh, I know what that means. You don't.
Yeah, I know what it means.
You do.
It means you're going to South Africa for 5 weeks and you're very worried about getting killed. That's why I wake up at
you wake
4:45.
up,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Well, that's magnificent. Now, I should say, Andy, that you... would it be fair to say that you're the power behind Darren Brown's throne?
I don't know that I'm the power behind his throne, but I'm sort of... I squeeze into half of the throne.
Are
with
you,
him,
are
I
you
suppose.
Stuart Pearce to his Fabio Capello?
Now, that you see, I wish I could pretend I knew about football.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I'm hoping they're footballers, not golfers or something.
But you and him, you
Yes.
behind the scenes, you and him are very
we've
much
written-
a unit.
Yeah, we've written everything together over the past... God, it's a decade now, astonishingly. 10 years we've worked together. Written everything, and then I direct the stage shows. And
So how do you get into that line of work? Because I don't even know what that line of work is called. It's sort of
I suppose it's
like
mentalism, is what you
mentalism,
call
but
it.
you're a mentalism ideas man.
Yes.
I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah.
So do you actually sit around and try and force yourself to think of something like the heist or something like that?
Well-
or are you making about your normal, business, and then something happens and you think, oh... that could
Well, it can
a
be
day.
actually. It can be both. It can be both things. I mean, as you well know, having a deadline of something you've got to deliver is a great way of forcing you to go, "Oh, what are we going to do?" Okay,
Yeah.
and then you start throwing ideas out. But equally, you can just be walking along and suddenly think, "Oh my God, hold on, let me just," and you'll make a phone call to Darren, or type something down and say, "I've got this brilliant idea for something," or equally, I'll suddenly get this phone call or a text from him saying, "I've just had an idea for this," and that's often what it is you have to work from a sort of a great plot and then find how on earth can you, the heist, to use your example, how on earth can you do that and find the tricks or linguistic patterns or conjuring or whatever it is that you're going to need to make this thing happen.
But the thing, so you know how Darren does it. Yeah, that's I thought one day he'll become power crazed and he'll kill you. You know that, don't you?
It's happened. He's tried it twice. So I never eat around his. I never drink around his. I have
What
a
can you do?
taster.
You can't shoot him or he'll just catch it in his teeth.
Yes.
Yeah, it is though. It's odd because I think of him as a man who shares that with no one. But of course, a lot of it is. So you must know exactly his capabilities in order to come up with the ideas. You must
Yeah.
know what he can do and what he can't do.
Yes.
But you must have them a little bit, to a certain
Yeah,
extent
that's
yourself.
what I
You
was
must have a
thinking.
lot of psychological insight. I bet you're a
Yeah.
nightmare to go out with.
Oh, I've been married to the same woman for 20 years, so
Oh,
I don't go out with
like
anyone
it.
anymore.
It is Mystic Meg though. And she's all right with it. You know what I mean?
She's fine.
She comes
about
from
it
that
all.
background.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
do you-
sort of do.
Can you do sort of? I'm not going to ask you to start.
No. Well,
performing.
I used to. That's how it all came about. Was that I've magic's always been my hobby, and I've always loved it. And then I started performing mentalism when there really were not many people doing it. There were sort of about 3 of us on the circuit that were doing it. This is about 20 years ago. So I very quickly became a big fish in a very, very small pond. And then I just got this phone call out of the blue saying they wanted me to host this show, to be the person, and I had no interest in doing it because I'm an actor and that's my greatest passion. So I said, I don't want to do it, but whoever you find, I'll...
You could have been Darren Brown.
Isn't that bizarre, isn't it? But it would never have been that, because I'd have done one show for Channel 4 and gone, great, now Channel 4 films. What? I'm working. What can we...
Yeah.
Can I see the scripts? I just wouldn't have... Whereas Darren is, he's the genuine article.
He
He's,
loves it.
he's amazing.
Can I
He's in
argue
league with the
Andy's
devil,
got the
I
better
think.
type of fame, I think, because he gets a table in a restaurant, but he doesn't get people coming up to him going, "You're a ledge mate."
You're a
Well,
ledge.
Yeah.
I like that. It's short for legend. Andy.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. It's
It
never
doesn't mean
happened
it's
to
not
me.
something that you put a
Yeah.
mug of tea on.
Ledge. Can you hold that?
I mean, he lives in
Yeah.
he lives in a world of magic. He doesn't know the real. He doesn't know the language.
Absolute
Radio.
Now, you may have heard that Lembit Opik, the former Liberal Dem MP who got knocked out in the last election, made his stand-up comedy debut this week,
Oh, yeah.
which is a bit of a big moment, I think, for
It
comedy.
was, yeah.
And we actually have not just an eyewitness, but we have Josh Widdicombe on the line, who's a comic who was actually on the bill that night. You there, Josh?
Yep, hello, how's it going?
Hello. Good to hear from you. Now, so Josh, you were you on before Lembit or after?
Yeah, no, we were all on before. He was headlining.
Oh, he headlined. This was his
yeah.
first ever gig, am I right?
Yeah, the arrogance. He was paid £100 as well, so...
It took me years to earn that kind of
I
money.
know. I couldn't... He was complaining about it during his act, and these other comics were not impressed with that.
What did you get, Josh?
Well, I was on free bar, which...
Free bar?
What does that mean?
Well, I was originally booked because I was going down to do 10 minutes of new material, and then it turned around that I was actually performing to Britain's press. So I wasn't earning any money at all, apart from drinks.
But free bar, that's not the way to encourage young comedians, is it?
No, it's encouraged us down the wrong path.
Exactly. Trust me, it's not the way forward, Josh. So,
No.
So, Lembit, what did you think?
It was that disappointing middle ground where it wasn't a complete car crash, but it certainly wasn't a success.
Much like the Lib Dems.
Yeah, indeed.
He looks like he's been in a complete car crash. Actually, he doesn't. He looks like he's gone down the motorway with his head out the window like a dog, and the wind has been so strong it's blown his jaw to one side. But he needs to drive looking out the other window to right his face. Anyway, this is...
If only he'd opened with that.
If he'd opened with that... Yeah, exactly. Did you think that... I mean, to be fair to him, not many of us get reviewed on our first gigs, do we?
No, and there was a lot of people that were going, well, that wasn't that funny at all, and I was thinking, you should have seen my first gig. It was, it was much worse, and he got away with it completely.
And he did a bit of impromptu ventriloquism, I heard.
That was the bit where it felt like he was in the middle of his midlife crisis at his lowest ebb. He was talking to... he had a spare kind of brogue that he brought out from behind.
A spare brogue?
So he didn't take a shoe off?
No, I thought he had, but someone told me afterwards, because I couldn't really see because of the crowd.
Oh,
but
because I thought it was an impromptu thing he'd come up with, but who carries a spare shoe?
I've got this thought of him on the tube carrying his props with him, just with a brogue in his lap.
A carrier bag with a brogue in it. And he wore a Lib Dem rosette as well, didn't he? I bet that would have been in the bag.
No.
Yeah, it was surreal. And then he got the kind of shoe on his hand. I mean, ventriloquism implies that he made an attempt to keep his mouth shut while speaking as the shoe.
Was the flap of the soul open? Was that the ventriloquist part of it?
I'd have thought maybe the tongue is the thing to use, because there is a tongue on the shoe.
There was not really any moving part of the shoe, so it was just kind of stationary shoe with Lembit Opik talking at it.
Because the advantage of that is that Lembit Opik could stand in a way where his mouth was behind the shoe, so you wouldn't be able to see it moving anyway. Do you think he's a man who should carry on, though? And
well, afterwards...
Was the potential, Josh?
Afterwards... No, well, there was potential... Yeah, I suppose there was. I mean, I'm not going to go and watch him again, but...
You might have to.
I could always go and have a drink outside.
Yeah.
He was... I'm sure... He said he was going to carry on gigging, but then I don't think he could have gone, well, this was a huge publicity stunt. There was a bleak bit at the end when he did a joke where earlier on, a kind of weak joke, about how someone said, didn't you used to be Lembit Opik? And then at the end, his sign-off was, thank you very much, I used to be Lembit Opik. And there was this kind of awkwardness of, oh my God.
And then he put the shoe back in the carrier bag.
Yeah, I imagine he laced it up first to suggest that he's tying up all the loose ends. Still, we shouldn't feel too sorry for him. He did have a relationship with one of probably the most attractive of the
Transylvania's finest.
He's very proactive. He sat at home, and when they sang "Touch My Bum," he thought, "By golly, I will." See, we just took it as a rhetorical thing. Well, look, Josh, I must say you came out of it very well, because all the things I read said, but meanwhile, the funniest act of the night was Josh Widdicombe. So every cloud.
Well, it couldn't have gone. Yeah, it couldn't have gone much better, really. Apart from I'd sit with Lembit Opik.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I respect his courage for going and doing it, and I think we're all rubbish on the first gig, so he could yet be good.
He could.
So I'd like to end on a note of optimism. Anyway, thanks for talking to us, Josh. We don't have many phone-ins, so it's quite exciting. I feel I should be telling you which competition you've won, but you haven't. And you're up in Edinburgh this year at the Comedy Zone, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, go and see Josh Widdicombe. Apparently, on the back of poor Lembit Opik's disgrace, he was very funny. Cheers, Josh.
Cheers, Frank.
Saturday morning!
I've got something to read out.
Yes?
Frank, you're going to South Africa aren't you, as we know?
In fact, what I haven't told the listeners is that means... See, I thought I'd be able to do the show down the line, as it were, from South Africa, but Absolute said that's impossible, technically impossible.
What?
Yeah. So, I'm
Who's
not...
going to be doing the show?
Well, next week it's Al Murray, the pub landlord.
Oh.
Yeah.
Lee Mack's going to sit in for a couple of weeks.
I'm going to have loads of new clients.
No, it's going to be it's going to be like a spring clean. But anyway, I won't be on air for 5 weeks.
Because you'll be with
on
David.
this show, because I'll be doing.
So because you're going, and I'm actually going to be quite sad. So I wrote you a poem.
Oh, no.
Do you want to hear? Don't say oh no.
No, I just haven't written a poem.
It's only 3
No,
verses.
Oh, you haven't written a poem. Well, thanks very much.
It's 3 verses, so settle down by
Even
the fireside.
Lucio has written a poem. 7 stanzas. And Lucio's on
7
next, by the way.
stanzas.
Does Lucio always have a moustache?
There's not going to be
Is that
time
new?
for my poem. Do you want to hear it?
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Stop all the clocks, put out all the stars. For today our Frankie is travelling afar. I wish him bon voyage, I wish him top games, but above all, I pray he turns left on the plane. I know he'll be safe in the hands of our Dave, and for football's sake, I'm trying to be brave. But without him, the studio will be a sad place. I'll miss his old uke and his Birmingham face. I'll bear it for England without our third lion. But what will I do without my pig iron? Max Clifford's bereft, A.E. Houseman's distraught, Chris Evans is probably slightly less fraught. But Gareth and I are feeling the loss, adrift without our fine Midlands boss. So adieu, cheeky smile, goodbye, Albin Yar, farewell, strange rendition of We Buy Any Car. Toodle Pip Whippet stories and George Formby tales, and the man who protects me from mischievous males. When England comes calling, our Frankie must go. Just avoid any strip clubs with Jermaine Defoe. And I'll cope in my fashion, take one for the team. Any offers, please text in on 81215. So, Frankie, goodbye, and I know you'll be great. All I wanted to say is, I'll just miss my mate.
Oh, slightly belated. There's a reference to A.E. Houseman in there, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, that's lovely. That's made me feel slightly tearful. Not the air raid siren. I'm not remembering those days in the blackout. I remember a few blackouts, but those were the 80s. So, yes, I won't be doing this show for 5 weeks, which is, well, that's
very
lovely.
sad.
Yeah, it is sad. I must say, of all the work I do, this is my favourite thing. So, anyway, so I will be on Absolute Radio with David Baddiel doing the podcast, but I will miss Saturday mornings very, very much. Anyway, this is no time for emotion, is it?
No.
What else?
So who's going to win the World Cup?
Oh, shut up. So,
I'm going to be very sorry to
Is that
see Frank go.
exactly.
Is that going to set the tone for your podcast in South Africa?
Yeah, exactly. I'm already bored with the World Cup. I mean,
Frank,
I haven't got there
you
yet.
can't say that on
No,
Absolute.
You're quite right.
I've got an Edinburgh preview booked on the day of the World Cup final, so I really hope England doesn't get that far.
I'm glad we've ended. You know what I'm really missing South Africa is some people will tell me stories and they'll have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I think, oh, how traditional. How very traditional. And I won't know anyone there who can tell me who Roy J was, like you did.
Which I knew this morning.
Anyway, look, to all our fabulous listeners, if I don't get macheted to death or blown up by Al Qaeda, I'll be on in 5 weeks. Look on the bright side. And I will miss you all very much. Good day to you.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.